better hope this works. I better hope it works. Better hope. Better hope it works. Better hope it works. How the fuck? How the fuck does this work? Is everything going okay? Is everything fine? Is everything fine? Can everybody hear me? I better hope so. Da 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 da. Yeah, let's move it. Move it closer. Dun da 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 da. Should I? Should I? Da 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 da. If you guys saw how I'm going to be having everything set up for this, you would cringe. This is absolutely awful. I'm literally watching myself on my phone. It's on the other screen just so I can get the live chat. I am good streamer, everybody. I'm good streamer. I'm just guy who plays magic. I play the magic and I do it good. I do it very good. So we're gonna be talking about the penis. We're gonna be talking about the penis. Yeah, I think I should just start. Might as well. How do I want to do this? How do I want to start the first video of the day? First video of the day. First video of the day. First video of the day. What the fuck's it called? Aristocrats? Yeah. Do you like tokens? Do you like things dying? Well, then you're gonna like today's deck. Today we're gonna be talking about Death Rattle. Oh wait, we're not playing Hearthstone. We're playing Magic. Heck yeah. Today we're gonna be talking about Tisa Karlov. You know, pretty good card, I'd say. Pretty good card. But before we get into it, if you guys don't mind liking and subscribing, it means a whole lot to me. I'd like to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It would mean a whole lot to me. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be great. But Tisa Karlov. It's a 4-mana 2/4. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. I love saying stuff like that. And creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. So, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be killing our stuff and making tokens. That's the goal of today. So, first of all, we need to kill stuff. Why not Phyrexian Altar and Ashnod's Altar? Really simple. Just kill everything. Obviously, we got the mana rocks, because why wouldn't we have mana rocks and stuff like Lightning Graves? You know, cards are too good not to have. Arcane Signet, the Soul Ring, Talisman of Hierarchy. Why not, every single time a creature dies with Skull Clamp on it, instead of drawing 2 cards, because that's broken, why not draw 4 cards? Make it even more broken. I think it's pretty broken. See, me personally, you know, I just think the deck's good. Nim Death Mantle is also just a really weird card. 2 mana, equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Intimidate, and is a black zombie. But whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 4. If you do, return that card to the battlefield and attach Nim Death Mantle to it. So, you can just keep getting creatures back over and over again every single time of the day. Die? Heck yeah. But what are we going to be getting rid of? What are we going to be sacrificing? What are we going to be doing the thing in order to get things? Well, that's when the creatures come in. Stuff like Aetheros God of Passage just makes it so that whenever creatures die, we can just get them back and do it all over again. Stuff like Blood Artist, just, you know, stuff dies, things happen, gets doubled with Tisa Karlov. Carmen, Cruel Sky March. You know what this is? A lot of text on a card. 5 mana 2/2 flying. Whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a 1/1 counter on this and you gain 1 life. Whenever it attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to this thing's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a lot of value, especially if you can very easily get this out and then start sacrificing a bunch of stuff. Get this up, and up, attack, return things from the battlefield. That's always good. Carrier Thrall dies, create a 1/1. Oh, but it's a 1/1 with Vigilance, Lifelink, and you create 2 of them. Heck yeah. Crawling Chorus is a 1/1, dies. Instead, you make 2 1/1s with Toxic 1, Vigilance, Lifelink, and can't block. Ooh, Cruel Celebrant. Oh, I clicked the thing. Cruel Celebrant. Another creature, planeswalker you control dies. Each opponent loses a life, you gain life. You know, it's like Blood Artist, but different. Delny Streetwise Lookout. Creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater. Shut up, network error. Nobody cares. Delny Streetwise Lookout, yeah. Makes things unblockable. Ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers. That ability triggers an additional time, which, it's always fun to just, things die. It creates a 1/1. Uh-oh, Teysa Karlov says it triggers. Delny also says it triggers again. It just so much value, so little time. Doom Traveler creates 1/1s with flying. That sounds awesome. Whenever it dies. Drivnod just is the exact same thing as Teysa Karlov. Doubles your death triggers. Ellis Ilkor, creature enters battlefield or dies. Stuff happens. That's always a good thing. Alonda the Dusk Rose, another creature dies, put 1/1 counter on it. Whenever this thing dies, you create a bunch of 1/1s where X is its power. I mean, that sounds really good. The Falkreath Noble, creature dies, you ping something. Garrison Cat, you create little 1/1s whenever it dies. Greedy Freebooter dies, scry 1, create a treasure, which is always good. Hallowed Spirit Keeper dies, create a bunch of 1/1, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. You're going to be putting a lot of them in there anyway, so why not just create a bunch of 1/1s for it? Junji the Midnight Sky, I mean, hey, just saying, it dies and you make each opponent discard 4 cards and lose 4 life, or reanimate 2 things from your graveyard on the battlefield under your control and lose 2 life. Hey, I'm just saying, value. Kokusho. Dragon. Dies, each opponent loses 5 life, and you gain life equal life lost this way. How about you nuke the table for 10 every single time this dies, reanimate it, keep going, keep just blowing up the board, doing a whole bunch of shenanigans. Lisa, Forgotten Archangel. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. I mean, hey, why not just recast all your stuff and get death triggers? Luminous Broodmoth makes it so they don't actually really die, so you can just do it again, and again, and again. Massacre Worm kills a bunch of stuff. Creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. That's always good. Mondrak Glory Dominus just doubles your tokens, like Teysa Karlov. Not quite like Teysa Karlov does, but slightly different. It's basically the same thing. Ogre Slumlord, creatures dies, you create 1/1s. Just gives all your creatures that instead of certain ones. Ophiomancer, beginning of each upkeep, if you control no stakes, you create a 1/1 with Death Touch, Vigilance, and Lifelink. Which, it's always good to just have them. Pitiless Plunder, whenever a creature dies, you create 2 treasures. Poggers. Sift Your Skulls, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you create 2 1/1s. That's sack for mana. Always good. Always good. It's always good to have value. Sir Conrad is just deals damage. Whenever creature dies, put a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or leaves the graveyard. Fun. Teysa Orzhov Scion, you can sack 3 white creatures to exile target creature, and another black creature you control dies, you create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. I mean, that's just value, baby. You can blow up creatures. You can create a bunch of 1/1s. Why not do both? Vindictive Vampire. Words are really hard, okay? 4 mana, 2/3, and whenever another creature you control dies, deals 1 damage to each opponent, you gain a life. I mean, hey, it's like Blood Artist. I'm just saying. Viscera Seer, another Ashnod's Altar or Phyrexian Altar kind of deal. You just sack a bunch of creatures, scry 1. Yeheni, Undying Partisan. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you put a 1/1 counter on this. Sack another creature. This gains indestructible until end of turn. Free sack outlet. Just saying. Can always be good. Yawgmoth Thrain Physician. Another sack outlet. and puts -1/-1 counters on creatures and draw cards. Heck yeah. Zulaport Cutthroat, another Blood Artisan, basically. But there's so many more things than just creatures and artifacts. Why don't we actually play a battle for once? See, look, we can flip it. I learned you could do that like a couple days ago. But 5 mana, enters the battlefield, return target non-battle permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. You flip it, and creature tokens you control get +1/+0 and lifelink. Beginning your end step, create a 1/1 with flying. You know, I think that's just value. That's insane value. Just being able to every single turn create a 2/1 with flying and lifelink. I mean, hey, value is value at the end of the day. The sorceries, super basic. Ascend from Avernus to get all your creatures back from the graveyard. There's Back for Seconds. You return 2 target creature cards from graveyard to your hand. If this was bargained, you may put one of those cards with mana value of 4 or less onto the battlefield instead of putting it in your hand. Dread Return, just for the real basic, play a bunch of stuff, get something back from your graveyard, sack 3 creatures, do it all over again. Always fun to have out. Reanimate, because it's Reanimate. Rite of Oblivion, to be able to exile non-land permanents, be able to get in there, and you have to sack a non-land permanent anyway. Why don't I just sack a creature that dies? And stuff happens. Unearth and Victimize, just for even more reanimation shenanigans. But there's stuff like, we'll skip over enchantments for now. We'll go on to instants. We have Teferi's Protection, because it's obviously really good. Enlightened Tutor, to get one of your mana rocks, or maybe one of your enchantments that we'll talk about in a second. Deadly Rollick and Anguished Unmaking for your removal spells. Afterlife Insurance. Creatures you control gain Afterlife 1 until end of turn and draw a card, meaning every single creature suddenly has, whenever it dies, you create a 1/1. Doesn't that sound really good with T.S. Karlov? I'm just saying. Sounds good to me. But on to the enchantments, because nobody cares about lands. At the end of the day, make your mana base however much you want it. I prefer to just make it as good as I possibly can, but, that's just me. Enchantments, stuff like the Meat Hook Massacre. Obviously, creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. Creature an opponent controls dies, you gain a life. It's basically just Blood Artist, but on an enchantment. That's really good. Skrelv's Hive creates 1/1s every single turn for you. It's exactly like Bitter Blossom. Guess where Bitter Blossom is? Oh, right there. That's insane. Value. Sanguine Bond and Exquisite Blood obviously are in here just because they're really, really good. Combo ends the game out of nowhere. Martyr's Cause is kind of a weird choice, but it's a sack outlet that prevents all damage to a creature or player from one source. Let's say you're playing against, I don't know, Voltron, for example. Why not prevent all damage to a creature or player from one source? That creature. Kaya's Ghost Form just makes it so that Teysa Karlov will always return to the battlefield. Court of Grace, every single turn creates you a little 1/1s with flying, or if you're the Monarch, creates you 4/4s, and enters, gives you the Monarchy. Court of Ardenvale, become Monarch, beginning of your upkeep, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from graveyard to your hand, and if you're the Monarch, turn it to the battlefield instead. It's just value, and a lot of your stuff costs 3 or less. I mean, not some like this stuff, but a lot of stuff you want to be sacrificing anyway will just be going. Blightmound makes it so that whenever non-token creature control dies, you create 1/1s that whenever it dies, you gain 1 life. So, non-token creature dies, you create 2 1/1s because of Teysa. Whenever those die, you gain 2 life instead of 1 because of Teysa again. But attacking pests you control have +1/+0 and have menace as well. Black Market Connections, also, you can pay 3 life, get a 3/2. It's going to have Vigilance and Lifelink anyway, so why not? And you can also create treasures and draw cards. Black Market Connections is just a really good card. Obviously, Bitter Blossom, Bastion of Remembrance. It's basically Blood Artist, but also creates you a little 1/1. It's good. Anointed Procession doubles the tokens that you create, so instead of just, something dies, it'll create 2 1/1s. Instead, you create 4. I think that's really good. And Animate Dead, just top it all off. Let's say you have a really big creature in your graveyard and you want to just say, you know what, I want it out again. Why not do it all over again? But at an average mana value of 3.01, look at that nice, sexy little curve. Look at that color distribution. Ooh, makes me tingle every time. But if you guys want to see this deck or you want to build it for your own, please let me know. You can see the link at the top left. You can copy that, or if you want to comment down below and say like, hey, I want to build this deck. Or if you just want to say, hey, I really like this, smiley face, then I might give it a heart and a thumbs up. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I didn't really talk about a whole lot. I also just don't like this deck. I'll be honest, I don't like that deck. I want to talk about the other ones. The other 4 I'll be talking about. Talk about Dragon D's nuts and other shenanigans. This deck is dumb. Because it has every Dragon Lord in it. And every non-Dragon Lord Dragon Lord. Because the whole point of this is I wanted to see the, what was it? On the proxy site that I use, all the really cool proxies for them. And this is what I found out. And this is what I'm going to do. Because why not? Yeah. Let's talk about... Let's just immediately hop into it, because why wouldn't we? It'd be dumb not to. Dragon D's nuts. Oh, got him. We're talking about dragons today. Obviously, I've made dragon decks before. I think dragons are neat, but I've never made an official Dragon deck. Everybody knows Dragon. Everybody, when they think of dragons, they think of the Dragon. And, you know, it's time for me to just sit down, make one. Uh-oh, I already made one, but with a twist. But before we get into it, if you make sure to like and subscribe, I'm almost on the way to 1,000 subscribers. It would mean a lot to me if I could get to it before the end of the year. But enough of that. Enough of the chilling and whatnot. We're talking about the Dragon today, all right? Everybody and their mother dreams of making Dragon decks. But I wanted to make it a goal of almost every single, like, legendary dragon that's good, especially the Dragon Lords and the non-Dragon Lord Dragon Lords, if you catch my drift. I wanted to get all of them, mostly because one of the proxy sites that I use, yeah, I use proxies, what of it? I just saw some of them, and I thought they looked really cool, so why not make a whole deck to give me an excuse to maybe proxy them out? But before we get into the actual dragons, let's talk about the artifacts, battles, and enchantments, and sorceries, because why not? The artifacts, obviously, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, because it's good either way. How about Belby's Portal, Dragon Arch, Monster Manual, and Quicksilver Amulet that just allow you to shove things onto the field if you pay a certain amount of mana. Are they good? Not necessarily, but in the early game, being able to cheat out, 7, 8 drop, like just being able to slam them out for absolutely nothing is insane value. Or how about just make the Dragon who already gives stuff, gives your dragons 1 less to cast? Why not make it 3 less to cast with Urza's Incubator, which you're gonna choose Dragon, obviously. But Invasion Sharkier, it's the only battle in it, but it's really, really good. It is made for this deck. 2 mana, 5 health. Sure, I don't actually know what that is. I don't know if it's the battle's health, or because, like, Planeswalkers start with loyalty. I don't know. When it enters battlefield, reveal any number of dragons from your hand. If you do, this deals X plus 2 damage to any other target, or X is the number of revealed cards. And then it flips into a 4/4 with Flying Trample, and a dragon you control attacks and deals 2 damage to any target. That's really, really good and really powerful in a deck with a lot of dragons, which is what we're going to be doing today. But we'll go on to the enchantments next. Temur Ascendancy, giving things haste and drawing cards. Creature you control power 4 greater enters the battlefield, which is going to be basically like most of your dragons. Sneak Attack is another, like, Belb's Portal or Quicksilver Amulet, being able to just cheat out your little big dragons to just be able to wah and the pah. It's insane value. Garruk's Uprising, giving your stuff trample, and whenever creature power 4 greater enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. I mean, pretty good, especially because a lot of stuff, like, I'll give you a hint, Tarkir World Render gives your dragons double strike. That's really good, especially like this is a 6/4 with, it has flying and trample, obviously, but double strike? Why not give everything trample as well? Dragon's Tempest. Creature with flying enters, it gains haste. Dragon enters the battlefield, deals X damage to any target where X is the number of dragons you control. That's like all of your creatures. Descendant's Path literally is just a, like, instead of Instead of just drawing like, oh, I drew a land, you can choose to reveal the top. If it's a dragon, you put it into play. I mean, hey, do you know what that sounds like? Value! Crucible of Fire gives your dragons +3/+3, because that's just always good to get +3/+3 to everything constantly. Bower Passage, creatures with flying can't block creatures you control, so they can only block your dragons with reach. Who's running reach nowadays? Unless they're running like spiders. Like, who are on spiders? Lands, obviously, is just a humbug shindig of just like everything that gives multiple different colors lands. We don't really care about the lands down here. We're not here to play a deck of nothing but lands and, Snake Umbra and Borborygmos, but if you want to see that video, go find it. It's a really fun deck. But our sorceries are literally just 3 visits, Skyshroud Claim, Nature's Lore, Farseek, ramp, and then Crux of Fate, because Crux of Fate is a hilarious card. 5 mana, either destroy all dragons or destroy all non-dragons. So, if somebody Narsets reversals you, that's a one-sided board wipe. But if they don't, then it's a one-sided board wipe in your favor. And destroy all non-dragons, who else is playing dragons? Unless they just go, oh, I want to play my dragon deck, Then, instead it's just 5 mana, win the game. Absolutely insane. But, now we're on to the good stuff. Now we're on to the creatures. Creatures, very important. Creatures are always going to be very important. But we're going to deal with the non-dragons right now, just to start out, because we're going to get to the dragons, and we're going to go through a lightning round of them. But Birds of Paradise, Bloom Tender, and Delighted Halfling are really good as mana dorks, because they just, we're going to need to cast the dragons anyway. Dragonlord Servant, dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, really good. Dragon Master Outcast creates 5/5s, if 5/5 dragons, if you control 6 or more lands. Dragon Speaker Shaman makes your dragons cost 2 more less to cast. And where else is it? Morph on the Boundless technically is a dragon, but it's not. It basically just makes all of your dragons cost colorless mana to cast. But also, all your stuff costs colorless mana less to cast anyway, so that's just insane value anyway. What else? We have Sarkon, Soul of Flame. Dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Dragon enters. It becomes a copy of it until end of turn, except its name is Sarkon, Soul of Flame. It's legendary in addition to other types, Skill Nurture is technically a dragon, but it's more of a mana dork. Whenever you spend this mana to cast dragon creature spells, you gain 2 life. And I believe Sylvia Brightspear is the only other non-dragon. It just gives dragons you control double strike, which is insane value. But time for the lightning round of every single dragon that I put in this deck. Whew. I don't think I can do this all in one breath, but I'm certainly going to try. Ancient Brass Dragon, Ancient Copper Dragon, Atarka World Render, Dragonborn Champion, Dragonlord Dramoka, Dragonlord Kolaghan, Dragonlord Ojutai, Dragonlord Silumgar, Dramoka the Eternal, Earthquake Dragon, Goldspan Dragon, Hellkite Courser, Hellkite Tyrant. I need to take a breath. Karthus, Tyrant of Jun, Cloth, Unrivaled Ancient, Kolaghan the Storm's Fury, Corlissa, Scale Singer, Lothless, Dragon Queen, Mirim, Sentinel Worm, obviously Morophon, Nicol the Ravager, Ojutai, Soul of Winter, Old Gnawbone, Ramos, Dragon Engine, Rith, Liberated Primeval? Yeah. Rivaz of the Claw, Scale Lord Reckoner, Scion of Draco, Scion of the Ur-Dragon, Scourge of the Throne, Scourge of Valkis, Slumgar the Drifting Death, Terror of the Peaks, Thrakus the Butcher, Tiamat, Two-Headed Hellkite, and Utvara Hellkite. Whew! That was a lot of dragons. A lot. And each one does its own unique thing. But you don't really care. All you're doing is just playing the big flying snake things and turning them sideways. If you want me to go through every single dragon that's in this, by all means, let me know. Or, pause the video at any time. Look up what they do. Because each one has its own special thing. Like Dragonlord Kolaghan gives haste. Creature casts a planeswalker spell, the same name as a card in his or graveyard, that player loses 10 life. Hey, you want to shut off like Gravecrawler shenanigans? You do that. Because you can cast it from your graveyard, and they cast a creature with the same name as a card in their graveyard. So, I'm just saying, shenanigans. And if it doesn't work that way, sue me. I'm not a good Magic player. I don't even read. You think I read? But an average mana value of 4.34, that's really, really high, but you don't really care. You just mulligan down until you have a really cheap wave and whatever. And also, 4.34 should be minus roughly like not like 0.9 or something, just because the Dragon does make stuff cost 1 less, and I didn't go in and individually make it so like Ancient Brass Dragon instead costs 6 and Copper Dragon costs 5. I didn't do that just because I think it's funny. And there's the color distribution, obviously a lot of red because red has a lot of dragons. But if you like to turn dragons sideways and think you want this deck, please let me know. You can either put in the URL that's in the top left of the screen, or if you comment down below saying, I really want to build this Dragon deck, just let me know, leave a comment, and I will give this to you. But just like that, I'll leave you guys to it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next deck tech. This might be my least salty deck of all time. And it's honestly because it's so fair. You just play cards. Put them in exile. Play them from exile. Foretell. Plot. Cascade. Heck, most of the time you might not even play Kellen. Yeah. Let's get right into the video. Let's get cracking. With the new Outlaws of Thunder Junction out, we have another Bant Commander. Ooh, I wonder what this is. We're playing outside of the game with Kellen the Kid. But before we get into it, please make sure to like and subscribe. It'll mean a whole lot to me if we get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. And let's just get into it. Kellen the Kid. It's Bant colors. It's a 3/3 with flying and lifelink, but it has a really weird text box. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand on the battlefield. So, it's weird. You want to cast things from outside of the game, well, outside of your hand, but you also want things in your hand. It's really weird. So, we're going to be playing in the zones other than your hand mostly today, which I think is really neat, considering this has a salt score of 2.68. I understand that like maybe it might be a little low for some things, but at the same time, the average being 36.26, that's really high. And like we're at 20.68, so this thing is really unsalty. But what are we going to be doing? We're going to be putting things in exile with Foretell, Plot, Adventures, what have you. We're going to be playing from the top of our libraries, and we're going to be cascading, things like that. But let's just go through the cards and see what we're going to be playing. Ancestral Vision, if we cascade into it, we draw 3 cards, or we can suspend it from exile. That also triggers Kellen, which gives us more land drops, and this and that. Crashing Footfall is the exact same, but instead creates you 2 4/4s. Farseek, Nature's Lore, and 3 Visits are just, ramp, because ramp good, ramp great. Raven Form, you can foretell it, and then get a 3 or less drop from your hand, but also exile stuff, because you're always going to be foretelling it. Anytime this deck has any sort of foretell, plot, adventure, you're going to be playing that first, and then you're going to be doing everything else. Playing the heist, you're going to plot it. Surveil 3, if you have no cards in your hand, then draw 3 cards. Eventually, you can just plot it, and then play a bunch of cards in your hand, refill it. Nomad's Assembly allows you to create a bunch of 1/1s, and then, next turn, create a bunch of 1/1s, and take a 6 or less drop from your hand and slam it on the battlefield. Inevitable Betrayal is really funny, like really, really funny. You search your opponent's library for creature and put that card on the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles. You just kind of look at somebody and say, can I just get the best creature in your deck? And they go, fine. And then they cry because they're being beat in the face by their own creature. Let's move on to artifacts. We have all the talismans we could possibly do, because talismans are good. We also have Soul Talisman, because it suspends, which is always good. Soul Ring, just basic Soul Ring, because Soul Talisman is like Soul Ring, but you have to suspend it. Mox Tantalite, hey, you suspend for 0. And then eventually cast it for more, which ramps you from your hand. Lotus Blossom is a Black Lotus, but eventually suspends. And the funny thing is, all right, I never mentioned this. Kellen the Kid says you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value. If you cast something like a Lotus Bloom, Mox Tantalite, or Soul Talisman, you can immediately put it on the battlefield. You don't have to use the suspend ability, which is a hidden secret tech that not a lot of people realize. Lightning Greaves gives haste and shroud because it's always good. Horn of Valhalla, sorcery, create a bunch of 1/1s, and then eventually becomes an equipment that equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. Slam on Kellen, he has lifelink anyway, hit in the face for a whole bunch. A whole lot of bunch. Also, Sword of Forge and Frontier is a card that I don't necessarily like, but in this, it happens to find this really weird niche that's really good. Deals combat damage to a player, exile top 2 cards to your library. You may play those cards, and you may play an additional land this turn. So, you can exile the top 2, and then play those, trigger on Kellen, and just dump stuff from your hand as well. I just think it's really cool. I think this deck has a lot of potential. It can be really cool, and it's something you kind of got to watch out for. While it does have a lot of value, it can also overwhelm your opponents to where they're like, this isn't casual, and you're like, well, it's actually pretty casual. Virtue of Loyalty, it adventures to create a 2/2, and it eventually becomes an enchantment that end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control, and untap those creatures. Sylvan Library just gives you more card draw, because you always need card draw with Kellen, because you're dumping your hand anyway. Future Sight allows you to play from the top of your library, which is just always really good, because Kellen triggers as well. Instants have stuff like Swords to Plowshare, Stroke of Midnight, Prismatic Strands, which is a fun card, which allows you to flashback, and it's a fog effect. Path to Exile, Ephemerate, because it rebound, is also really good. Emergent Scathed, giving something protection from the color of your choice until end of turn, and rebounds. I mean, it's fine, but it also just triggers even more. I got a message, and that scared the crud out of me. Whew! Depart from the Realm, bounces something to your hand if you foretell it. I mean, hey, get something that's mana value 2 or less from your hand. Behold the Multiverse, foretell, scry 2, draw 2 cards. Always good to just kind of put something away. Faithful Mending is Faithless Looting, but you also gain 2 life, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, and you can flash it back for even more card draw shenanigans. Suspend, exile a creature, and put 2 time counters on it. If it doesn't have Suspend, it gains Suspend. So it's you're going to go over there for about 2 turns, and then you can get it back. Saw It Coming is a counterspell. I know, it's a counterspell. I don't like counterspells either, but you can foretell this. And then, on your opponent's turn, counterspell and get something with converted mana cost 3 or less and put it on the battlefield. Just saying. It's insane. But Jace Reawakened is another card from Thunder Junction. Allows a Thunder Junction. It's a 2 mana, 3 loyalty Planeswalker. Jace Planeswalker, that you can't cast the spell during your first, second, or third turn of the game, which is weird, but +1, draw a card, discard a card, or +1, exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand, and if you do, it becomes plotted, so you can play it later to then get another trigger from Kellen, which is insane. You can -6 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. I mean, you know what that sounds like? We're going to be doing a lot of plot shenanigans. A lot of plot shenanigans. Or just, put a bunch of stuff away, foretell things, plot things, adventure things, and eventually, -6 Jace. Alright, I'm going to play this, copies, this, copies, this, copies. Have a blast with it. And Kellen just keeps getting more and more triggers because you could just slaying more things out, which is insane. But let's move on to the creatures, because creatures are really important in Magic. Unless you're playing a deck that does not care about creatures. I think the least amount that I have in a deck is 6, if you don't count the one that only has the commander. But that doesn't count, because that deck is hilarious. But Aluanda the Seer allows you to draw a card, exile a card from your hand, to put a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value, and it gains basically suspend, and then gives haste if it suspended. And then you remove a time counter from each other card you own in exile, which is cool. You suspend a card from your hand, eventually wait a little bit more turns, remove stuff from it, and you can just get more and more value every time. Augur of Autumn allows you to play from the top of your library, mostly lands, until you have a bunch of creatures out, and then you cast creatures from it. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Mana Dork. Battle Mammoth foretells, and it's just a decent body. You know, it's always good to just have a decent body. Birds of Paradise, just, you know, Mana Dork. Blessed Hippogriff is, you know, an adventure, can make something indestructible, and attacks target creature with flying. Target creature without flying gains flying till end of turn. You know, just a little bit of value here and there. Bramble Familiar can basically mill 7, choose one of the creature's enchantments or lands from them and put it on the battlefield. Then becomes a Mana Dork. Delighted Halfling is just always a good card in general. It's a Mana Dork. Elusive Otter distributes 1/1 counters, and it's just a little 1/1 that its power creatures with power less than this can't block it, and it has prowess too. You know, it's always good just in general. Ethereal Valkyrie just makes things foretold and makes more value, which is always good. Fibblethip, Lost on the Range. Look at the top card of your library. The top card of your library has Plot. Plot is equal to its mana cost. You may plot non-land cards from the top of your library. That's always good. Just keep plotting things, keep doing a whole lot of shenanigans. So instead of actually casting them, you cast them on a later turn in order for, you know, to -6 Jace or just do a little bit more card draw. You only have to play the cards in order to survive until eventually you can just boom, boom, boom. Play a lot of really good cards. Giant Killer destroys things and can also just be a 1/2 that taps stuff. Glorious Protector foretells thing, it can foretold. And then when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of non-angel creatures you control until this leaves the battlefield, so protects against board wipes. Green Slime foretells, counter an activated triggered ability of an artifact or enchantment, and if a permanent's ability is countered this way, destroy that permanent, which is always good. Guardian Naga can exile artifacts and enchantments, and then become a 5/6 with Vigilance, and prevent all damage that would be dealt to it, as long as it's your turn. Leader Disciple of the Drowned turns every instant and sorcery in your graveyard to have flashback, which is just always good to have in general. Llanowar Elves as Mana Dork. Magus of the Future, which is the future sight, but as a creature. Noble Hierarch, Mana Dork. Rosethorn Acolyte can turn your green source into any source, and then becomes a 2/3 Mana Dork, which is pretty good. Sage of the Beyond. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast, which is just good in general, especially with all the foretell stuff you have. Shardless Agent to cascade into something that you can cast for free, like one of the 0 cost stuff. Sisterhood of Karn is just enters with counters, cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, double the number of counters on it. Can always just be good to just make a really big body. Slickshot Lockpicker just plots and enters battlefield. So it's a, what's that card called? The 2-mana 2 Snapcaster Mage. It's Snapcaster Mage but plot, and makes flashback. Gives something flashback, and flashback's equal to its mana cost. It's always good. Foretold Soldier. It just keeps foretelling, and it's a 6/6, really big body. It can't be blocked by more than one creature. Deals damage, exile it face down. It becomes Foretold. I mean, hey, that's always good. 13th Doctor is just a whole lot of cast a spell from anywhere other than hand, put 1/1 counter on target creature. Beginning your end step, untap each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it. It just puts stuff, 1/1 counters on stuff, untaps everything. It's always a really good thing to have that. Tinkala Hunter, get exile a creature from your graveyard until end your next turn. You may cast it, and then you can get a 7-mana 7/7 with trample. And once each turn, you may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a creature spell you cast from exile, which is always good because most of your stuff is going to be in exile anyway. Twinning Twins. 2 mana, exile target non-token creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, and then is a 4/4 with flying, vigilance, and ward 1, which is just good in general. Uro can escape and get a bunch of stuff, gain life, draw cards, put lands out. Vega the Watcher is a 3 mana 2/2, cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card, so you can put Kellen's trigger on the stack, and then this thing on the stack, draw a card, then put something from your hand on the battlefield, which is just always good. Woodland Acolyte, put a permanent from your graveyard on the top of your library, enters the battlefield, draw a card. You know? Why not just play more adventures and plots and fortolds and whatever? I did forget to mention a card right about here. It's a lot of text, but it's the key to the vault. It's a 2 mana, equip 3. Equip creature deals combat damage to a player. Look at the top cards. Look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may exile an on-land card from among them, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Give it to something like Kellen, or anything with flying, and suddenly, boom, I'm getting the biggest thing from the top of my library. I don't think this deck is, super, really, really strong. I think it's just the right amount of strong to where this is Commander. You are doing something every single turn. You're throwing things in exile. You're, foretelling things, adventuring things. You're doing a whole lot and just playing out a lot. It may struggle to win in the late game, but with the amount of value you're getting, hopefully you can just value train your opponents into absolute submission. But having an average mana value of 2.63, look at that color distribution. Ooh. But if you guys like the deck, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want the deck, just comment down below being like, hey, I think this deck looks pretty neat. I would like that as my own. Then I don't mind, and I might even give it a heart, thumbs up, and give you the deck list. Or you can just look at the top left. I really don't care. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next deck tech. Alright, now we're on to the next one. I need to get a drink because I'm thirsty. Alright. Beautiful. Video is not sponsored by anybody in particular. We're talking about the subtle mixture between Monster and Red Bull. That is the name of the deck that I have today. You know what's funny? I have learned a funny thing about one of the mugs that I have is that you can perfectly fit a soda can in it, and it looks like you're drinking coffee, and it kind of peeks out just a little bit, and people go, what the heck are you drinking? And you're like, Diet Coke. What do you mean you're drinking Diet Coke? You have a coffee mug. Yeah. And? So, you could totally just drink from a coffee mug. And drink from a can at the exact same time. Hooray! So, if you can't tell, I like to make a lot of the names of the decks into really clever things. So, a subtle mixture between Monster and Red Bull. People are like, what? That makes no sense. A subtle mixture between Monster and Red Bull? That doesn't make any sense. And then they realize, oh, it's energy. He's talking about energy. Why didn't he just say energy? Because Monster and Red Bull, what are they? Energy drinks. And we're talking about energy. I find myself hilarious, by the way, alright? I should start the intro of yet another deck. I should have cracked the can open before this and just been like, that was not Monster or Red Bull, because I'm not sponsored, but Monster and Red Bull. Have you ever wanted to make a deck that is a subtle mixture between Monster and Red Bull? You probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'm here to talk about it. What am I talking about whenever I'm talking about Monster and Red Bull? What are they? They're energy drinks. Uh-oh, we're talking about Magic? That means we're talking about energy, one of the most broken things that ever came out of anything. With Dr. Madison Lee, a new commander that came out from the Fallout set. But before we get into it, please make sure to like and subscribe. It means a whole lot to me if we get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So go ahead and do that for me. But Dr. Madison Lee, Jeskai color, 2/3. Cast an artifact spell, you get an energy. You can tap and pay an energy, and target creature gets +1/+0 and trample and haste until end of turn. Tap, pay 3 energy, draw a card, or tap, pay 5 energy, return an artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we're going to be making a lot of energy. We're talking Rockstar, Monster, Red Bull, any sort of energy drink you can ever think of. Oh, excuse me. But we're also going to be playing a lot of artifacts too, because artifacts are just good. Stuff like Unwinding Clock, untap all your stuff. Thousand Moon Smithy, which creates a bunch of little constructs that have power and toughness equal the number of artifacts you control. Talismans to create a bunch of mana. Soul Ring, because it's good. Simulacrum Synthesizer, which is just... what a fun card. 3 mana, enters Scry 2. Another artifact with mana value of 3 or greater enters, create a 0/0 construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. Insane. Sensei's Divining Top to just do a little bit of card draw, throw this thing back on top. You can constantly be casting artifacts and get a bunch of energy. Plasma Caster attacks, you may pay 2, and you may pay... attacks, you get 2 energy. You may pay 2 energy, choose a creature that's blocking this. You either flip a coin, and you either exile the creature, or this deals 2 damage to it. Whatever. Mystic Forge, just, play even more artifacts, just as many as you want. Paired with Mycosynth Lattice, you could just play your whole library if you want to, but it makes everything artifacts, so everything you cast gives you energies. Mox Opal and Mox Amber and Mishra's Bauble, just 0 mana artifacts that do a thing, but you're going to get those glorious little energy counters whenever you cast it with Dr. Madison Lee out. Mind Stone, just another mana rock that you can then sack to draw more cards. Gonti Aether's Heart, whenever this or another artifact enters the battlefield under control, you get 2 energy counters, which is like, Dr. Madison Lee. But you may pay a whole bunch of energy and exile this, and you take an extra turn after this one. So you can have a whole bunch of energy, get a whole bunch of energy, do a whole lot of stuff, exile this, take an extra turn, do it all over again. Glassblower's Puzzle Knot gives you a bunch of energy, allows you to scry 2, just a little cool little card. Decoction is Decoction module. 2 mana, creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy. And you pay 4, tap, and return a creature you control to summoner's hand. Neat. Consulate Turret makes it so that you're not just sitting there and like, alright, I don't do anything on this turn, don't do anything. This, you can sit there and make an energy. Make another energy. Make another energy. Shock somebody. Cool, it's just fun. Conjurer's Closet allows you to flicker a lot of the creatures that enter and give you energy, which is a lot of them. Arcane Signet, obviously, mana rock. Aetherworks Marvel, permanent you control is put in the graveyard. You get an energy. You may tap and pay a bunch of energy. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a card from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I like casting things for free. What if you cast any of these creatures for free? But we'll get to them in a second, because I like to skip around. You know what? Let's skip all the way over to the sorceries. With Vandal Blast, it's one-sided destroy all artifacts. Thoughtcast is basically just 1 mana, draw 2 cards, because affinity for artifacts, you already have enough anyway. Tezzeret's Gambit allows you to basically pay 3, 2 life, draw 2 cards, proliferate, in other words, get another energy. Confiscation Coup is funny. Really, really funny. You can pay 5 mana, choose an artifact or creature, get 4 energy, then pay energy equal to the permanent's mana cost. If you do, gain control of it. So, when in doubt, it's a 5 mana, just gain 4 energy, or can always be a 5 mana, I take your biggest thing, what are you going to do? Cry about it. Let's switch back over to enchantments. Thopter Spy Network gives you little 1/1s every single turn. And artifacts do combat damage to a player, draw a card. Fun. Teleportation Circle, same thing as Conjurer's Closet. Mirrodin Besieged, easy way to win. Easy way, especially after somebody gets a Vandal Blast off. When this enters the battlefield, choose this. Choose one. You either cast an artifact and create a 1/1, or beginning of your end step, draw, discard. Then if there are 15 or more artifact cards in your graveyard, target opponent loses the game. How about do that 3 times and win the game? Especially after somebody plays a Vandal Blast. Mechanized Production, another funny way to win the game. Beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Let's say a 1/1 Thopter. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. Hooray! Inexorable Tide is 5 mana. Cast a spell, proliferate. Cast a spell, get an energy. That's always fun. Why not? Artificer class makes your artifacts cost less and does the thing, and then eventually getting your end step, create a token as a copy of an artifact you control. Just fun, happy times in general. Thirst for Knowledge, 3 mana, draw 3, discard, basically an artifact, which is going to be good for Mirrored and Besieged. Swords of Plowshare, obviously, easy. Experimental Augury, 2 mana, look at top 3, put 1 in your hand, the rest on the bottom, proliferate. Happy, happy fun times. Ephemerate, it's like Teleportation Circle, which is like Conjurer's Closet, but it's 1 time. Oh wait, next turn, it's a second. Eerie Interlude allows you to flicker a bunch of stuff and get a lot more of those ETB triggers. Dispatch allows you to just exile something for 1 white mana, because you're going to have 3 or more artifacts. If you don't, then you're not playing artifacts right. We don't really care about lands over here, because you can just take a look at them and go, oh, hooray, look at that Urza Saga, hooray, and playing all the artifact lands, because I think they're neat. But what are the creatures? What are we going to be flickering? What are we going to be doing things with? I haven't even said a lot of like good, solid ways to get energy, spend energy. What are we going to be doing? Whirler Virtuoso. Period. Exclamation mark. Hooray! It's a 3 mana 2/3. Enters get 3 energy. You can pay 3 energy, create a 1/1. Hey, that sounds neat. Whirler Rogue makes a creature unblockable and creates 2 1/1 artifacts and tap artifacts to make things unblockable. Happy, happy fun times. Urza, Lord Protector, makes your artifacts and its sorcery cost less. Urza, Lord High Artificer, creates just really big body, tap artifacts for mana, and play the top of your library. Thought Monitor is basically a 1 mana 2/2 flying, draws 2 cards. Hooray! Synth Eradicator, I almost got rid of it. It was tough. It was really tough to not get rid of it. But 3 mana 3/3 haste, attacks, exile the top card of your library. You may get 2 energy. If you don't, you may play that card this turn. So, it's weird. Do you want card advantage? Do you want energy? You may pay 3 energy, and this deals 3 damage to any target if you tap it. Steel Overseer puts a bunch of 1/1 counters on artifact creatures. Shielded Aether Thief, 2 mana. Whenever it blocks, you may get an energy. Is 0/4 with flash. And you can tap and deal pay 3 energy and draw a card. Sentry Bot gives you an absolute bunch of energy whenever it enters the battlefield for each creature attacking you. Beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That's insane value. Sentinel Sarah Lions. That's a new card. We haven't seen that one before. It's a 5 mana 4/4 with haste. As long as an artifact enters the battlefield under your control this turn, creatures you control get +2/+2. And whenever this and at least 2 other creatures attack, this deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target player. That's a lot. That's going to be a lot. Robo-Brain Warmind, powers equal to the number of cards in your hand. Enters the battlefield, you get an amount of energy equal to the number of artifact creatures you control, which is a lot. And whenever it attacks, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, draw a card. Hooray! Paladin Dance, Steel Maverick. 3 mana, 3/3. It is an artifact creature. It has Vigilance and Lifelink, and you may exile this. And each creature you control that's an artifact or human gains indestructible until end of turn. That's value, baby, value. Padim, Console of Innovation, gives your artifacts hexproof and a little bit of card draw. One down, if you have the biggest one. Loyal Apprentice just gives you a whole bunch of little 1/1 flying thopters that go pew and then pew and then pew. I love Loyal Apprentice. One of my favorite cards. Liberty Prime Recharge. It's a 5 mana 8/8 with Vigilance, Trample, Haste, attacks or blocks, sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy, and you may pay 2, tap, sacrifice an artifact, and get 2 energy and draw a card. You know, that just sounds like value. That's just an insane value when in doubt. Lysel is every single time you get an energy, you get an additional one. Put a 1/1 counter on something, you get an additional one. Lustrous Wonderglyph, 5 mana, 2/2. But if you have 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing. And other artifacts you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. Beginning of each upkeep, you create a 1/1 artifact, which is insane value. Foundry Inspector makes your artifacts cost less. Flux Channeler casts a non-creature spell, Proliferate. Hooray! Ethereal Sculptor and Enthusiastic Mechanaut makes your stuff cost less. Emery allows you to cast artifacts from your graveyard and enters Mills 4. Brotherhood Scribe, you can get energy every time. Oh, if you have 3 or more artifacts. Whenever you get 1 or more energy during your turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. You know what that sounds like? A really insane, like, Crater Hoof Behemoth, basically, effect. Bronze Guardian. Artifacts you control have Ward 2. It's like Hexproof, but slightly worse. But it's also Power and Toughness will power equal the number of artifacts you control, making it an insane double striker with Ward 2 for 5 mana. Assaultron Dominator enters, you get 2 energy. Hooray! Artifact you control attacks, you may pay an energy. If you do, put your choice of a 1/1 counter, a first strike, or trample counter on that creature. You know, I think it's neat. I think he's a fun little guy. Aether Torch Renegade, 3 mana, enters, you create 4 energy. It's a 1/2. You can tap and either pay 2 energy and deals 1 damage to target creature, or pay a whole bunch and deals 6 damage to target player. I mean, hey, that just sounds like a win con to me. Aethertide Whale enters, it creates 6 energy. Pay 4 energy, return it to its owner's hand. So it nets you 2 energy every single time. Or just flicker it and get 6 energy. I'm just saying, stonks. Aetherstorm Rock. When it or another creature enters the battlefield under control, you get an energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. I just think he's neat. Hello, Tortoise. Everybody, go subscribe to Tortoise. He's nice. We have fun over there. Aether Squall Ancient is a 7 mana 6/6. Beginning of upkeep, create 3 energy. You can pay a whole bunch of energy, return all other creatures to its owner's hand, and activate this ability only anytime you cast sorcery. Why don't you just one-sided board wipe while getting a bunch of stuff? Value. Delicioso. Aether Theorist, 2 mana, enters, create 3 energy. It's 1/3. You can tap it and pay an energy and scry 1. Why don't we do all that? Just happy fun times. Make a bunch of energy, do a bunch of stuff, and just win the game. I think this deck is just pretty decent overall. I don't think it's too oppressive. I don't think it does anything like super big and wacky and shenanigansy. I think this is honestly a really fair deck. I think this is probably a solid, like, somebody's just like, you know what? I want to play a power level 7. This is the kind of deck you want to have. It's basic. It just does a lot of artifact energy shenanigans that isn't like too impactful. Doesn't really ruin the game. It's just fun overall. But at an average mana value of 3.00 exactly, color distribution, look at that. Ooh, absolutely beautiful. This is looking like a pretty solid deck. Well, if you guys liked the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. Look at the top left of your screen, and you can see the deck if you ever want it, or just comment down below if you're too lazy to look up at the top left of your screen. I don't mind giving you the deck list, because I love hearing you guys talk about, like, hey, I made this deck, or wow, this deck's really cool, I never thought of adding this card to it, or all that. Just, comment any of the stuff you want, and I might give it a heart or a thumbs up. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next deck tech. Hi, Tortoise. How are you, buddy? I'm talking about 5 decks today. By the way, I found this really funny thing where OBS is being really weird. Oh, thank you. You rock too, buddy. You rock too. I found this really, really weird thing that happened with OBS where, for some reason, my like I can't use OBS in YouTube Studio, but I can stream directly through OBS. It's just weird and awkward. But I'm going to be talking about this deck here in a second. That it's going to be difficult to like. I'm going to proxy it, hands down. I have to proxy this thing, but it's going to be really hard to explain to people that like what this deck is and what it does, mostly because it's just that difficult to understand. Like I'm gonna be condensing it down to an actual like video. But yes, OBS is absolutely amazing. I have a whole like up here. I have a whole website that I love now. I absolutely love Combo Finder. It doesn't exactly find every single infinite combo in your deck because some of them are a little too like, you know, it's one of those. You just kind of figure things out. Like some of them are just like. Some of the infinite combos are with Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, Arbor Elf, Agatha's Soul Cauldron. You put that on, what was it? You have Cathar's Crusade, so that, and Emblem of the Warmind. You use Meredith's ability to pay 1, remove a 1/1 counter from it to create a 1/1. That enters, give things 1/1 counters. You then tap the creature to create a mana with to untap one of your forests, to then tap it, to then use Meredith's ability again, and create infinites, and all that. It's because that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-card combo. Nobody's going to be sitting there making a list of every 6+ card combo. Nobody is. But this deck list thing has every, I believe, 3 card and less. Yeah, I believe every combo that is 3 cards or less. Oh, it does have some 4s. Okay, so it does have some 4s, but I know it doesn't have more than that. But some of them will... some of them will recommend, like, you have something else with it. Like, you have to have lifelink on the creature in order for the infinite combo to happen, which is absolutely shenanigansy. But this website, having every 2, 3, and 4 card combo in this deck, and it recognizing 130 combos, infinite combos, is nuts. That is insane. Every single card in this counts towards an infinite combo in some way. I actually originally made this deck tech, whatever, and I was looking at the video, going through it, I just realized it's impossible to make a video like this, because how are you supposed to go through every single infinite combo in this deck? I wanted to make the list of every infinite combo in it, and I'm still tempted to, but at the same time, I think I'd rather just throw out this deck and offer to people find the most infinite combos you can with this deck, and just hope and pray, because that's really what this deck is. It is literally a beginning a game, draw your starting 7, and hope you can win from there. And it can do it quite a bit. I mean, it's just got cards and cards. If you also notice, even like it doesn't even have some staples in it. I mean, it does have Lightning Greaves, but that's for a really, really slow version of an infinite combo. Because if you don't have something like Emblem of the Warmind, it's Emblem of the Warmind, Fires of Yavimaya, There's I got rid of Ogre Battle Driver. Things that give Perforous God of the Forge. That's what it is. Literally anything that has haste. Also, because Lightning Greaves gives haste, you can, like that combo that I just said earlier. Instead, you can remove a 1/1 counter from Marith, and create a 1/1, equip Lightning Greaves onto it, tap it to untap Arbor Elves, or tap it to untap a forest, to then tap the forest, to for the mana to do Marith all over again. Struggle time. This deck is impossible. And it only has really 4 card types. That's all it needs is 4 card types. And look at this average mana value of 2.65. That's insane for something that's trying to go infinite very, very quickly. Heck, Young Wolf. Yeah. A 1/1 with Undying turns out is really, really good. Because you can, what is it? The combo with Young Wolf is with Young Wolf, Agatha Soul Cauldron, and then Walking Ballista or Triskelion. And then you need some sort of combo finisher with it, like a Johnny's Welcome, Cathar's Crusade, Master Chef, a lot of stuff. But as long as you have Agatha Soul Cauldron and exile like Walking Ballista or Triskelion or something that you can remove 1/1 counters for it for free, you can what is it? You can make Young Wolf. So you have to kill Young Wolf. It undines, enters with a 1/1 counter on it. You remove the 1/1 counter to have it deal damage to itself. Now you have infinite death triggers and infinite ETB triggers. Also, if you have something like, if you have a Rite of Passage, it's just infinite, just like pew, pew, pew. But if you have like Master Chef out, for example, it enters with additional 1/1 counter on it, meaning you could ping your opponents as well, which is really, really good. Let's say you have a Johnny's Welcome out, or any of the things that creature enters, you get a life, like Daxos or Suture Priest. You can just pew, 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 gain a whole bunch of life. Also, Patrol Signaler. I didn't think that this card would work, but it turns out it does. What does this even combo with? It combos with Earthcraft, which is hilarious. So what it does is you have to tap the Patrol Signaler, and you have to tap the Patrol Signaler to untap. It's basic land. I have basics in this. Yes, I have 10. To untap a basic, to then tap the 1/1 or just anything to make another mana, to pay the 2 to untap the Patrol Signaler to create a 1/1. And you just keep doing that back and forth. You have infinite 1/1s. This deck is freaking bonkers. And I'm not going to be going through every single infinite combo in this. I just want people to figure it out in a way. I will be offering a challenge for those who can find the most infinite combos in this deck, or find the longest one where using any of the cards in there you could not have ended like the combo beforehand. Like, obviously you can do a whole bunch, like you can what is it, Heliod Suncrowned, Walking Ballista, and then immediately you could throw Shadow Spear on there. You can do like alright, I shoot this with, like, you can totally do a Walking Ballista, Heliod Suncrowned, Rite of Passage, Herd Baloth, whatever, But if you could just play Heliod the Sun Crown or Walking Ballista, that's just the win anyway. Like you're you're not special. You have to find individual combos. You can't just say like, oh well, if I do all of this, then this happens. Unless you have to make a specific scenario when that wouldn't happen as well. Like if you can't just be like oh well, somebody made Heliod the Sun Crown, so you can't give things lifelink. No, you can't. Just say no. If your opponent didn't exist, how would you win? How would you deal 120 damage or create an infinite board state where you could deal infinite damage with these cards? Find the biggest one. That's basically what I'm doing. Also, Elemental Mastery, absolutely hilarious. It's literally just Splinter Twin, but slightly different. Also goes infinite with, what is it? Midnight Guard. Midnight Guard taps to create 2/1/1s with, what, 2/1/1s with haste. And then it untaps it. So you just, you literally turn 3, like on curve, turn 3 Midnight Guard, turn 4 Elemental Mastery or Splinter Twin, and win the game. Bonkers is what I tell you. Absolute bonkers. But we should probably get into it. Actually, just make the deck. Just make the list. Make the list. This deck has been a long time coming. This deck has been a culmination of months of me trying to perfect the perfect commander deck. It has to have every single card being part of an infinite combo in some way. And it can't just be oh, well, I have an infinite combo here, and oh, this happens to also be a thing. No, it has to actively be part of the infinite combo it's in it. I did have some help, too. Because this isn't sponsored whatsoever, I just really like this website. There's a website called Combo Finder, all right? It just allows you, well, it gives you a list of every infinite combo that's in your deck that's like 2, 3, 4 cards in it, and gives you how many combos they find. And also, at the very bottom, of it, it also tells you have, like, I, for example, have 726 potential combos, and I'm missing one piece from it. I'm missing one piece from all of these, from 726 potential combos. Like Kiki Jiki and Mirror Breaker, Dino DNA, like Raka Mar. Like, so many different infinite combos that I could have, and all I need to do is add like one card to it. But it recognizes this deck in its current form to have 130 infinite combos in it. But I'm going to go through the deck. And if you guys like it, first, like, subscribe, comment down below what your favorite combo is. But I want somebody, I'm giving you guys a challenge, which I don't normally do. I'm giving you guys a challenge to find the most amount of cards you need for an infinite combo in this that you could not use some of the cards to make an infinite with it. For example, something like Marith Will of the Wilds out with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, with Arbor Elf exiled with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, with Yavimaya Cradle of Growth out, and something like Emblem of the Warmind to give things haste, and then Cathar's Crusade. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's at least 6 cards that I need to create infinite 1/1. They're infinites, which is absolutely insane. But these are the cards, and I want you guys to find the most powerful you could, because every single card in this is part of an infinite combo, including the lands, because of Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. This card is busted. This deck makes sure it's busted. But we'll start with the artifacts. Wolf Hunter's Quiver gives equip creature tap. This creature deals 1 damage, target creature or player. Viridian Longbow, the exact same thing. Thornbite Staff. Whenever a creature is put in the graveyard from play, untap this creature. Tyrion's Soul Cleaver. Artifact creature put in the graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on equipped creature. Shadow Spear gives something +1/+1, trample, and lifelink. The lifelink's the only important part of that, by the way. Phyrexian Altar. Sack a creature, add 1 mana of any color. Ozolith the Shattered Spire puts additional 1/1 counters on things. Lightning Greaves is a really slow version of infinite combos, but it is a thing because equip 0, equip creature has haste. Blasting Station. Tap, sack a creature, deals 1 damage to target creature player. Creature comes into play, untap this. Blade of the Blood Chief. Equip creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on this. Doesn't matter about equip creature's vampire because there are none. A Basilisk Collar gives things lifelink. That's the only thing that really matters. Ashnod's Altar. Sack a creature, add 2 colorless. Alter the Brood. Another permanent enters the battlefield under your control. Each opponent puts top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. That's kind of a little a la carte. Just like at the very end, you're just like, I'm just gonna go infinite. Also mill infinite, by the way. Altar of Dementia. Sack a creature. Target player puts the number of cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power on top of their library into their graveyard. Agatha's Soul Cauldron makes creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them have activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, and you can tap exile card from a graveyard. If creature card is exiled this way, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. That's all the artifacts. That is all the artifacts. 15 artifacts in total. I'm just saying. Marith, Will of the Wild, though, is the commander, which is the reason why I wanted to make this deck, because I heard that this card had to actually have errata text, because you can originally, with an Anthem out, like Sylvan Anthem, for example, you could pay 0 and remove 0 1/1 counters from this and create infinite 0/0s, but they enter as 1/1s because of the Anthem. But Marith, Will of the Wild enters with 1/1 counters on it, equal to the amount of mana spent to cast it. And you can pay X and remove X 1/1 counters, so it has to at least be 1. And you can either put a 1/1 counter on target creature, which can be relevant, deals X damage to target creature or player, which can be relevant, or put an XX green elemental creature token on the battlefield, which is usually really relevant. But we'll just skip to the enchantments first, because the creatures are really important. But War Leader's Call. Creatures you control get +1/+1, but whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control, this deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is kind of the important part. Splinter Twin. Splinter Twin combos. Find the Splinter Twin combo, everybody. It's super simple. Splinter Twin, broken card. Rite of Passage, one of my favorite cards because of this deck. A creature you control is dealt damage, put a 1/1 counter on it, which is really good. Presence of God, tap, create a 1/1 on a creature. Pretty good. One with the Kami is 4 mana, enchant creature you control. Whenever this or another modified creature you control dies, create X 1/1 colorless spirit creature tokens where X is that creature's power. The amount of infinite combos with this card there are quite a bit, but they're really confusing. So that one's really difficult. Master Chef. Creatures enter the battlefield with 1/1 counters. Mana Echoes. Creatures entering the battlefield add an amount of mana equal to the number of creatures you control that share a creature type with it. It gets snowbally quickly. Light of Promise turns anything into a Johnny's Primate. Impact Tremors. Creature enters, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Hardened Scales put more 1/1 counters on things. Goblin Bombardment. Sack a creature, deal a damage. Fires the Avimaya gives haste. Emblem of the Warmind gives haste. Elemental Mastery. Enchanted creature has tap, create X 1/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste, where X is this creature's power, exile them at the beginning of the next end step. It's like Splinter Twin, but slightly different. Earthcraft. Tap an untapped creature you control, untap target basic land. That's a $120 card for a reason. Catherine's Crusade. Creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That's a really relevant... The amount of infinites that go with Catherine's Crusade is insane. I'm just saying that. Branching Evolution doubles the number of 1/1 counters put on things. Johnny's Welcome. Creature enters, you gain 1 life. Very simple, basic things. But now, onto the creatures, which are the things that we're really looking for. These are the cards that really go infinite no matter what you do. You can draw a 7 and most of the time have some parts of an infinite combo in your hand. If not, you'll draw into one and have a happy, happy fun time. But some of them you might not think go infinite with something, and if you want to know what it goes infinite with, either look on the combofinder.com or ask me in the comments. I do not mind explaining the infinite combos in this. But Young Wolf, it's a 1/1 with Undying. Walking Ballista enters with 1/1 counters. You can remove 1/1 counters to deal damage to targets. Alosht the Hate Seed, which is kind of like Marith. You can pay 1, remove a 1/1 counter. It either deals 1 damage to a creature or create a 1/1. Triskelion is Walking Ballista. Remove a 1/1 counter from it. Deals damage to target. Thopter Squadron is kind of like Marith. You pay 1, remove a 1/1 counter, create a 1/1. Or you can pay 1, sack another Thopter, put a 1/1 on this. It goes infinite with, I think, Ashnod's Altar? Ashnod's Altar and something that doubles the tokens you make. I'm pretty sure. Suture Priest. Another creature enters, you gain 1 life. Creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, that player loses a life. Sprouting Phytohydra. A 5 mana, 0/2, Defender. Is dealt damage, you put a token into play that's a copy of this. Hooray! It never dies. It never dies. This card reminds me of the Grim Patron deck in Hearthstone. Love it. Shalai and Halar, 4 mana, 3/3, Flying Vigilance. Whenever 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on a creature you control, this deals that much damage to target opponent. There is a version of this deck that you can swap this for Marith, but it does change a lot of the cards for it. I just think having Marith in the command zone instead of Shalai and Halar makes everything a little more calm for your opponents while also being a lot more deadly. Scurry Oak, 1 or more 1/1 counters are put on this, create a 1/1. Rosy Cotton is whenever you create a token, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control other than this. Perforos, God of the Forge, whenever creature enters under control, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Prosperous Innkeeper, creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Patrol Signaler, you can pay 2, untap this, put a 1/1 soldier into play. Mondrak, Glorious Dominus, doubles the tokens you create. Midnight Guard, another creature enters, you may untap this. Lurking Roper, it doesn't untap during an untap step, but whenever you gain life, you untap this. Lunarch Veteran, creature enters battlefield under your control, gain 1 life. Also Disturb, flip into creature control leaves the battlefield, you gain 1 life, which both of them can be very relevant. Kitchen Finks enters battlefield, gain 2 life with Persist, which, what a fun card. Whoever thought of this what a fun card. Kami of Whispered Hopes, puts additional 1/1 counters on things. Also, Matador, taps for things. Ivy Lane Denizen, green creature enters under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Herd Baloth, put a 1/1 counter on. It's like Scurry Oak, but creates 4/4s instead of 1/1s. Heliod Suncrown, gain life, put a 1/1 counter on target creature enchantment you control, and you can pay 2, and target creature gains lifelink. And guess what? I'll give you a hint. Walking Ballista. It goes infinite. Grumgully the Generous gives 1/1 counters whenever things enter the battlefield. Good Fortune Unicorn, another creature enters the battlefield under control, put a 1/1 counter on that creature. I mean, hey, pairs really well with Agatha Soul Cauldron. Famished Paladin, it's just like the Roper. Gain life, untap this. Devoted Druid, put a -1/-1 counter on this, untap Devoted Druid. It's like a slightly worse Midnight Guard. I'll give you that hint. Daxos, Blessed by the Sun, another creature enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life, which is really good for both of them. Darian, King of Keldor, the only 6-drop, I believe, in this deck for a reason. Whenever you're dealt damage, you create that many 1/1s. It's such a good broken card. Cryptic Trilobite, remove 1/1 counter from it, add 2 colorless, spend this mana only to activate abilities. Marith's ability is a mana ability, just saying. Conclave Mentor puts additional 1/1 counters on things. Bloom Tender taps for a bunch of mana. Birds of Paradise taps for mana. Archangel of Thune, gain life, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. It's like Cathar's Crusade, but it's not creature entering, it's gaining life, which with Ajani's Welcome is the exact same thing. Arbor Elf, tapped, untapped target forest, which is what makes every land be part of the infinite in this. But that is every single card in this deck. Every single one. With having an average mana value of 2.65, the color distribution, a little weighted towards green and white, but we don't mind here because it's Naya Infinite Combos, which a lot of people would think I'm crazy for. But if you guys like the video, please make sure to like, subscribe. It'd mean a whole lot to me. And comment down below what you think is the biggest infinite in this deck that you cannot win with having only maybe 3 or 4 of the cards in it. Every single card has to be actively part of the infinite combo, and you can't oh, well, what if I just do this? No, you have to find the biggest string of the infinite combo. And if you guys want the deck list, the link to it, if you don't want to look in the top left and type all that out, leave a comment and I will give you guys the link to the deck. But thank you guys so much for watching, and may God have mercy on our souls. And just like that, hooray! We made it through the video. Anybody who's keeping track every single time I make a deck tech video, I always usually end it with I'll see you guys in the next deck tech. I had to make this one different. I had to. This deck might be my magnum opus. It genuinely is hilarious. Let's run the playtester with it really quickly. Let's run the playtester with it. Would you be able to keep this? Goes infinite with... So, Marith can gain life. I just need something that gains life and stuff. I could probably keep this. Draw a card. Play Forest and alter the Brood. Untap drawer. Play a probably a mountain. They each mill one. Play an Earthcraft, which is fun. Untap drawer. Play another forest. And then probably a Kami. I think Kami would be fine. Yeah. Kami's fine. And then I can tap it to untap a basic land to then tap it to play a Shadow Spear. Untap drawer. Then we play Cinderglade. No, we don't. We play City of Brass. Would we play Marith right now? Can create 1/1s that can... I just need something that creates... puts one count. Okay, so I think we've gone infinite. We just need to take a damage. Play Rosie Cotton. Yeah, because I'd need to I need the white with Marith, and then so create a food. Whenever create a token, put 2/1/1 counters on this. It's 1 minute of any one color. Actually, do I go infinite from here? It's turn 4. So I tap this, create 3 white. Tap this. Tap Rosie Cotton. to untap the mountain to then tap it, moving. Having what? So Marith enters with 4 counters. Then using one of the mana, removing 1 counter on this, I create a 1/1 elemental, which tokens created put 2 1/1 counters on this. Each player mills 1. I could tap this to untap one of these because of Earthcraft, and yeah, I just won. Turn 4. Look at that insane, that's insane. And that's from a really, really risky hand. I had Altar of the Brood, Earthcraft, Shadow Spear. That's all I really had with City of Brass, a mountain, and a forest. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then what else did I have? You can rewind the tapes. I mean, that was a risky hand to keep. 1 on turn 4. That's absolutely not. Let's new game this. Looking at this, honestly, I could keep. I could keep this. I could understand not keeping it, but being able to Wood of Foothills crack search for probably Triome. I need something that taps for white and red. So Sacred Foundry. And have it enter tapped. And then shuffle. Okay, untap, drawer. C. Agatha Soul Cauldron. Ooh. Play Beseju. 2 for the Suture Priest. Untap, drawer. That's our... what is it? That's another way to go infinite. Let's probably play Altar and Young Wolf, gaining life. Untap, drawer. Play a forest. Probably Phyrexian Altar. Yeah. Get out the Phyrexian Altar. Untap, drawer. So this is turn, what was it? 4, maybe? Forest. Probably Agathos? I could always Archangel of Thune. Yeah. I'm going to sack Young Wolf to have it enter with a 1 counter with Phyrexian Altar, play an Archangel of Thune. Untap, drawer. I believe that is infinite, boys. This is turn 5, 6, something. That is Herd Baloth by sacrificing Young Wolf. So that is a creature entering, so I gain 1 life. I put a 1/1 counter on each creature I control. Because I created a beast. And everybody mills 1, but puts 1. So this entered, gained a life, which put a 1/1 counter on everything, which Herd Battle triggered, putting the 4/4 out. But a creature entered, so I put a 1/1 counter on it. I go infinite, create infinite 4/4s, make them infinitely big, and everybody mills everything. That is turn 5 again with a really risky hand. I'm just saying, this deck is broken. Yeah. I want to kind of do it again. Sure. It's got lands and spells. It's got lands and spells. Drawer. Let's play a Yavi Maya and a Birds of Paradise. Untap drawer. Mana Confluence. Probably Impact Tremors Young Wolf. Impact Tremors Young Wolf. Untap drawer. City of Brass. Ozolith wouldn't be that bad. I can Ozolith and Mentor here. Yeah. Conclave Mentor, Ozolith. Untap drawer. Huh. Stomping Ground. Probably Merit. Well, I can play the Archangel Thune, which would be really good. It is turn 4, by the way. It is turn 4. Nothing gets 1/1 counters or anything. I just untap draw. That is Triskelion. But I don't have a way to give it lifelink at the moment. So it's turn 5. Marith can either put 1/1 counters on things. Can put a million 1/1 counters on stuff. Or create creatures. Or deal damage. I think it's fine to play Marith here. Put 2 additional, so it enters with 5 counters on it. I'd probably pay 1 to put 3 counters on it. Remove 1 to put 1, 2, 3 counters on it. I think that's fine. I could do it again. Add additional 2. And then untap drawer. Again, I still don't have a way to go infinite. I just need something to do a thing. I can put a bunch of 1/1 counters on things. I really can. And then I can make a bunch of 1/1s that deal a bunch of damage. Or pay 1. I basically just put 2 1/1 counters on it. And then play Elemental Mastery on it to create 11 1/1s with haste, which would deal 11 damage to everybody and swing in for 11 damage. Now it's turn 6, I believe. Or even if it's 7, that's lifelink right there. That's the Shadow Spear, which means I would... Why do I need lifelink? Because I probably would need the famished thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Access to 4 mana, a bunch of lifelink. Honestly, I probably don't even need to go infinite here. Because then I just tap Marith, deal 17 damage to everybody, and then swing in for 17 with 17 1/1s. Which would honestly be fine. Heck, what if they don't die in a untapped drawer? Yeah, that's still not... It's still not infinite, but still, like, that's fun. It's good. That's dead on turn, like, 6, 7, something. Like, that's EDH right there. Let's see EDH at that point. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the stream because it's taking too long.